Hello and welcome to Beekeeping Fundamentals, brought to you by myself, Ray, from the Norfolk Beekeeping Experience. Today we're going to talk a little bit about feeding your bees over the winter period. There's hundreds of other videos out there of how to do it, but this is what I do. I'm based in Filby in the UK, so Filby is the picturesque village on the Norfolk Broads, if you don't already know, and that's where I keep my bees. So a few things that aren't always mentioned in the other videos that I'm just going to quickly run through. Your fondant that you feed your bees can't just be any old fondant that you go and pick up from Tesco's. Other supermarkets have it as well, because the fondant, the fondant that you pick up from the supermarkets generally have ingredients that are not good for your bees, such as emulsifiers. So you need pure baker's fondant. And that is really just a mix of sugar, glucose syrup and water. So it's just got the three ingredients, and it's really important that you only use the baker's fondant. That's the kind of fondant that you're going to get on top of your ice buns if you're partial to an ice bun. The one caveat to that is if you buy something like the Hive Alive fondant or any of the specialist fondants that are available through all your local suppliers. So here we've got a nice big slab of fondant, and this is what we're going to feed to the bees. So I like to put my fondant into a takeaway tub. I buy these from Amazon. Obviously you could reuse ones that you get for your own takeaways. So you get a tub and a lid, and what you do is it couldn't be easier really. You put your fondant in your tub, put your lid on, take that to where your bees are, take your hive roof off, take the lid off, and you will place this over the hole in the porta bee escape on your crown board. So that's not having the porta bee escape in there, that's just the oval hole where the porta bee escape would be pushed. So you'll pop that straight over the hole. So you'd get that centrally over the hole on your crown board where you put your porta bee escape. So that will be directly above where your bees are going to cluster, and so they'll have nice easy access straight into the fondant. And what they'll do, they'll eat the fondant from the middle outwards. But it's still important that you go and check your bees regular to check that they've still got the fondant and food. What you may find is that all the middle fondant's eaten and the edge fondant's still there, and you think, oh, that's okay, they've got plenty to eat still. But what will have happened is the fondant, where it's on the edges and not over directly the hole on the crown board, is that fondant will be too far away for the bees to get to. So the thing to do with that is, if the fondant is okay, and now to check the fondant, just lift it up and see if it's still nice and I'll eat some of that, and see if it's still nice and supple. But what you'll probably find is the fondant's all dried out. So the thing to do with that is take that fondant container away and put a fresh fondant container straight back on. Now the fondant that you take away isn't waste. What you'll do with that is you'll take it home and you'll get all the other fondant that's been dried out from all your other hives, and you'll bunch that together, pop that in the microwave, warm it up, and it'll become nice and supple again, and so you can reuse it. So it's waste not want not. So don't think you're taking off the old dry fondant and throwing it in the bin and it's a waste of your money, because it's very much reusable. And what I do, I wait till I've got another big slab of sort of dried out fondant, then I just heat it up in the microwave and it's nice again. But should you go to your hive and they've eaten the middle of the fondant and they've left the edge fondant, and you check that edge fondant, and that edge fondant is still nice and supple, it's just like it was when it was put in there, the reason they haven't eaten it is either they've got enough fondant and food stores for the moment, or they can't get to it. So to be on the safe side, just move your container of half-eaten fondant, sorry about that, half-eaten fondant back over the hole on the crown board, so that your fondant is now back directly over that hole. And if you come back in a week or so and they've started to eat that fondant, you know that it just was too far away for them when it wasn't over the hole to get. So it's really important that you bear this in mind, because you might think you've got enough fondant in there, but you really haven't. So how do we go about getting the fondant into the tub? It's messy. So I like to put some nitrile gloves on. Now, this is more for the satisfaction of keeping my hands free from muck, rather than health and hygiene for the bees, because the bees really wouldn't care if you've touched the fondant, really. So what I like to use a kitchen knife, and I just cut bits off. It's harder than you think just to pull a bit of fondant, because it is quite a tough old substance. Hence I like the gloves. So we've got some fondant, got the tub, and we'll just pop it in there. I like to fill the tub up all the way if I can. But I find it easier to cut it up with a knife and just continue to layer that into the tub, and try to cut a big chunk off. So as I've said, this is part of my Beekeeping Fundamentals, which is going to be a series of videos aimed at all the basic beekeeping tasks that you're going to face throughout your beekeeping career, and particularly as a newbie. If you ask 10 beekeepers one question, you're going to get 100 answers. So I'm not saying that this is the best way of doing this, and if anyone's got any better ways, I'd willingly like to know, because this is sticky and gooey. But it's the way that I do it. By cutting it off in smaller pieces, it's a lot easier to get into these tubs. Now, you normally buy these tubs in 12.5 kilos. You normally buy the boxes of fondant in 12.5 kilos, and they range anything at the moment from £18 to about £22, depending on where you buy them from. It is possible that if you're a member of a club, they can negotiate a bulk buy from either a supplier or a local bakery. But in terms of you as just your beekeeper on your own, expect to pay upwards of 18 to sort of 20-ish, £22. I buy mine from Simon the Beekeeper, just because I find his service great and his prices are always competitive. Oh, I would hasten to add that Simon the Beekeeper did not give me this fondant. I bought this in the usual fashion. He doesn't, in fact, I don't know him, so there's no way I could have coerced him. So for me, that's pretty much what I would call a full tub. Now what I'll do, I'll put the lid on that, and that's ready to go down to the apiary to feed the bees. Now I've got the fondant on the outside of the tub because I'm messy, but it's ideal if you can just to keep as much of the fondant away from the outside of the tub. So before I go down to the apiary, I will just give this a wipe down and make it less sticky. It's important that when you put the tub on the bees, you bring the lid home, because you'll need to reuse that lid on that tub when you refill the tub. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. There's not much else I can say about sticking a bit of fondant in a tub, but the important thing to bear in mind is you have to have baker's fondant. So if it's not baker's fondant and it's got any more ingredients than the 3 that I mentioned, which is sugar, glucose and water, don't feed it to your bees unless it's a specialist fondant. Okay, thanks for taking the time to watch. I've been Ray at the Norfolk Beekeeping Experience.